So I just saw Quentin Tarantino's new favorite movie, Talk to Me, and I absolutely loved it. So here are my unscripted thoughts, just getting right out of the theater, just giving my quick review on this. So Talk to Me is a new horror movie that was distributed by A24, and it was directed by Danny and Michael Filippo. If I'm pronouncing their names wrong, I'm sorry. But they're former YouTubers. They used to make videos like Halo versus Call of Duty and a bunch of those old, like, classic YouTube type videos. Personally, I knew them from that one time when they came out and they said that DC had offered them a DC movie, but they had turned it down, and then James Gunn came out and said,
I don't even know who you are.
So that kind of weirded me out and made me not really that interested to see this movie because it's, you know, why are they claiming that? That was just a whole weird situation, but luckily for them, Talk to Me is actually a phenomenal movie. The movie's about a group of friends who discover how to conjure spirits by using this hand. Using this hand, they get connected to this spirit realm and they kind of become hooked on the thrill of like this experience of being connected to these spirits. And of course, messing with the spiritual world and messing with these ghosts and these spirits obviously unlocks these really bad things. So we have a horror movie called Talk to Me. So what worked about this movie? First off, the cast in this movie is amazing, and these are mostly unknowns. This movie was made in Australia on a very low budget with very small production companies. So pretty much its entire cast were unknowns, but Sophia Wilde, who leads this movie, is absolutely great in it. She carries the whole movie on her shoulders, and her performance is great. I think she's going to have a phenomenal career going forward in Hollywood. The direction of this movie is also just incredible. I mean, these guys, for a first movie, for a feature film, and I know they've done a bunch of shorts, and they have a lot of experience in filmmaking, but just when it comes to an actual big production film, the direction in this is just so amazing. They have great timing when it comes to horror. They have great horror timing. They have such a great understanding of how to use the camera in certain scenes to really build tension and slowly build up to the big, you know, bang of a moment to actually scare the audience. There's a lot of wonders in here that are really well done, and there's just really, really great moments of direction. I just think it was a really well-directed movie. The cinematography in here is also actually really great. I really love the lighting in a lot of scenes. They really got creative for a very small budget. I think this movie was made on like a $4 million budget. They got incredibly creative with a lot of the different ways they lit scenes, they lit certain rooms, and the way they just filmed stuff. I just thought it was very interesting. It was a very well shot movie. The screenplay here is also pretty strong. It gets a little bit messier in the third act. I'll get more in that in my cons, but the third act is a little messy. But for the most part, the screenplay is great here. The characters are great. You get really connected to, especially Sophia Wilde's character, Mia, the lead. But this whole family that's kind of at the center of this story, you really get connected to them. And although the pacing, especially in that third act, gets a little crazy and it kind of gets a little convoluted, well, I don't want to use the word convoluted, but it gets a little like they put too much there. They just threw so many different characters and so many ideas here, and then at the last act they decide to just focus on one, and you just kind of don't really get to see the other stuff. And I get that was probably due to budget reasons. They couldn't really do a big, huge horror movie, obviously, so they really had to focus on these, you know, this handful of characters. But those first two acts, when you do have this big ensemble and it feels like this big studio horror movie, that's when it's at its best. The scares in this movie are also incredible. This is maybe the best horror movie just when it comes to the scares and the thrills that I've probably seen since Hereditary. This movie is genuinely scary, and the concept is really original, which is another reason I love this movie. The concept is great. It's something I've never really seen before, and although they don't really get as into it as I wish they did, they don't really get into the background of it. You don't really have that scene that you get in pretty much every generic horror movie where, like, they get a call from somebody from another country who has all the insight and all the information on, like, whatever they're experiencing. You don't get that, which is good, but I do wish they gave us, like, a little bit more of an understanding of exactly what was going on, because you're really, like, on the outside looking in when it comes to the actual supernatural part of this movie. But what it actually is and the concept of it is good, and there's a lot of really cool scenes where they really utilize the hand and what's going on with it. And a lot of great scares. There's a scene very, very early on in the movie, their first experience using the hand, and I think it is one of the scariest scenes I've seen in film in a very, very long time, because you as an audience are experiencing what this thing is and what this ability is the same time the characters are experiencing it for the first time. And seeing this that scene play out was just so great. There are some really intense horror sequences, some really weird, cringy scenes that really made me curl up in a ball in my seat in a good way. That's what they wanted you to do. Scenes that weren't exactly scary, but are just like icky, and I really, really love that. There's a great use of sound design in this movie. I mean, the sound design in every horror movie is really what you rely on to get the scares across, and this movie does have a little bit of an over-reliance on it at some points, but damn, the sound design is punchy, it is loud, it is in your face, and it is definitely effective. But yeah, let me get to a couple cons, because I have a couple problems. Like I was saying, the third act I think is a little bit rough. I think there's a lot of great ideas in the third act. I think the ending is phenomenal. I think it is one of the best endings to a horror movie I've seen ever. It left me feeling so uneasy, and so, you know, it sort of made me question all these ideas that the filmmakers definitely wanted you to question about death and grief and loneliness, and it was a really, really great ending. I just think that the build-up to the ending and the way that it was shot, it felt rushed. It felt like filmmakers that were working on a very strict budget and had to make some cuts, and I'm not sure if that's exactly what happened. That maybe wasn't what happened, but that's just kind of what I felt like happened while I was watching it. Just because the third act, those last 10 minutes, just felt a lot more cuttier and a lot cheaper and a lot faster paced than what I consider the perfect first hour of this movie. And I just think there were a lot of ideas and loose ends that I kind of wish they got to, you know, iron out a little bit more in that third act that they didn't get to do. But that first hour of the movie, I'm telling you, is picture perfect. It is like the best hour of horror film that I have seen in a very, very long time. And the ending of this movie is great. There's just like a little 10-minute period there where it just didn't have me as hooked as I wanted to be. But overall, Talk to Me is certainly one of the best movies of this year, and that's incredible to say because this year just will not stop delivering amazing movies. Is this better than like Oppenheimer or Across the Spider-Verse or Mission Impossible? Probably not, but it's definitely in the top 10 of the year so far. I don't know if it'll still be there by the end because holy shit, there are so many movies coming out this year. But this is definitely the best horror movie I think I've seen this year, unless you consider Infinity Pool a horror movie. This is definitely one of the best horror movies of the year, I guess. And it's a movie I completely recommend. I give it a 4 out of 5, and I definitely think you should go see Talk to Me when it's in theaters by you, which it should be in theaters right now. So if you've seen Talk to Me, let me know what you thought of it down below. If you want to see it, let me know down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Make sure to turn on notifications to see when I upload, and I will see y'all in the next one.